YouTube, like all social platforms, has many problems. You know it, I know it, but I think there are three specific flaws with the platform that make it almost unbearable, both as a creator and a viewer. The first problem is borderline illegal ads. There's so many ads that are scam and fishy. From personal experience, I would say about 60% of the ads on the platform fall into three categories. First one is weird, fishy scam ads, AI ads, and a word that I can't say ads. This spread is very poor, especially for a platform of their size. And you would assume they would do a better job because they already have great detection systems in place for videos. Platform will detect copyrighted assets even if it's from a few seconds in a video. And for this kind of content, YouTube is very good at detecting that as well. We've even seen videos criticizing that kind of content and get taken down in almost a censorship type of way, but that's a separate problem. So how come the platform cannot detect these ads? Especially with these ads, it's that there's even cases of them showing up in kids' accounts. And personally, I've seen these ads firsthand. And this isn't like necessarily teasing or something that you would interpret. It's very clearly explicit. Most of my experience with these ads are in like video game kind of ads. The reason these ads are probably on the website is not because they can't do anything about it, it's because they don't care. Why would they? They make a lot of money off of these ads probably. And that leads to the second issue, which is a term called enshittification. Last year or so, they have not only removed the countdown for the end of the ad, they have also made 60+ second unskippable ads on TV. I've even seen 90-second ads that are unskippable. And that's obviously much less ads than you will see on an NBA game. And for that, you also need to pay an extra subscription for it. But still, that's not where the platform started at. And it just makes a much worse user experience. They have also started including ads whenever you pause a video on mobile. Now that is one of the most annoying things that exists on the platform. It's so annoying. It makes the watching experience so much worse. They also, for some reason, think that including ads as the first thing recommended on the homepage is a good idea. The term I mentioned at the beginning is usually used to describe a product getting worse over time for the sake of maximizing profits, and that is clearly what is happening. YouTube have a higher density of ads that make it more annoying for the user because they have a monopoly on the business. Not only YouTube is the second most visited website after Google themselves, they are also the largest short form platform. Yes, more than TikTok and Instagram. They are obviously the biggest long form platform. They're also the most used streaming service on TV. They know that they can make the product worse because no one can compete with them. If you're frustrated with the platform, there are three things you can do. You can either leave the platform, which you're not gonna do. You don't have anywhere else to go. You can suck it up and keep going, or you can pay for premium, which just gives them more money. So they make the product worse by having more ads, longer ads, and they make more money off of those ads. If you don't like them, you either still watch the ads and just suck it up, or you pay them a subscription. They win either way. and the user loses either way. That leads to the third flaw. The reason they are the biggest social platform by far is just because of the sheer amount of content that they have. There's supposedly over 500 hours of content uploaded to the platform every single minute. That would be multiple days of content since I have started the sentence. But how do they get so much content? Well, unlike Netflix, they don't need to produce their content. The only thing that they do, which is generous, but I think is the bare minimum, is sharing revenue with creators. But only about 1% of creators are actually monetized. Only 1% of the content that is being produced do they pay anything for. So that brings the question, how are 99 million channels upload on a regular basis without making a single dime off of any of their videos? We know how platforms can make users addicted to them, but we never speak about how creators can be exploited and made addicted to producing content. And now that sounds a bit strange, but how the platform works is that it's like a slot machine. You feel as if you're always one video away from winning, and that winning is a dream that we have been sold. It's the dream of I can get famous and rich. This part I obviously blame them less for, because most people aren't going to be successful on the platform. And that's because if everyone is successful, then naturally no one would be successful. The bar for success would be much higher, and that's how it always has been and how it always will be. But it's very disappointing in how they still exploit that fact. The last part I would mention is basically how YouTube handed over basically all the videos on the platform, all the data they have, and they handed it to Google, which they are owned by, and Google used that data for training their AI models. Now, I don't think this is confirmed by them, but it's pretty obvious. OpenAI did it, and so it would make sense that Google did that as well. But it's disappointing that creators did not get paid for that. Now, they would never pay creators for that because they would never admit to using their content, but also because it would cost tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's very hard to make a number on how much they owe you, but I think that part is less important, and I just mentioned it because it's been on my mind. Is this YouTube's downfall? No. Are YouTube the worst? No, there's much worse platforms online. But it does suck how the platform has just gotten much worse over the last few years. And before I end this, I do need to mention, or not mention at least, say that with all this, I do think it's still important to be grateful and appreciative of what they have allowed creators to do. And so I think that's important to mention. Yeah,